Welcome to the EntreEd Talk podcast. We are your hosts, Toi Hirschman and
Laura McCall.
Join us as we dive into incredible stories from inspiring entrepreneurs around the world.
Whether you are an educator looking for ideas to engage students, a new learner, or someone who wants to be inspired, our guest journeys and their ideas will give you resources to create value and take your own leap into entrepreneurship.
We are so looking forward to sharing our message with you. And don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to the EntreEd Talk podcast on whatever platform you listen. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the EntreEd Talk podcast. We are delighted to be joined by our new friend, Miki Cacace. Miki is a stellar educator focused on giving students epic experiential learning opportunities. At Miki's year-long coding class at Eva Mackay Middle School in Oahu, Eva Beach, students learn by doing rather than watching. They create games and apps, wire their own microbits, and troubleshoot device issues, building foundational skills they will need for 21st century careers. Miki is a math teacher who volunteered to expand her curriculum with the coding class. Students had already chosen their electives, but she promoted the new class during lunchtime, selling it as a fun and exciting alternative. Students signed up in droves, knowing that whatever she was teaching, they were in good hands. She developed the curriculum with a combination of 3 days of summer training resources from Project Lead the Way and Code.org. I can't wait to dive into that. And her trusted cache of instructional strategies. Miki's students invite friends to try out their apps, offer constructive suggestions, and vote for their favorites. Miki showcases the group's work at Coding Night, where parents and siblings check out their students' creations. In her class, students build confidence and practice problem solving, decision making, and collaboration skills. During field trips to the Microsoft and Apple stores, students talk to professionals about their STEM backgrounds. Many of Miki's students start their year unsure of how their studies connect to their future lives and careers, but she bridges the gap. Building a pipeline of students who excel in computer science is a priority. Miki is working with her peers at the district's elementary and high schools to create a K-12 computer science program and is now running an advanced coding class this year due to high demand from her students who wanted a second year of coding. Super cool. She also mentors new teachers and is an active member of CSTA, Computer Science Teachers Association. With her upbeat, awesome attitude and focus on creating positive relationships, Miki helps students who struggle to persevere while pushing those who generally succeed to go above and beyond their capabilities. A member of the school's social emotional learning leadership team, she started a habit of eating lunch with students who were sitting alone and encouraged her colleagues to follow her lead. That's awesome. To better understand the way students experience their school, Miki shadowed a student for an entire day and challenged the SEL committee members to do the same. She developed an SEL website with lessons on empathy and creating a caring culture for her peers to use during their advisory classes. Miki is unafraid to share her personal challenges if she thinks it will help students believe they can overcome their own hurdles. And that just gave me goosebumps. That's amazing. I wish that everybody did that. So, oh my gosh. So we had so much to dive into. So welcome, Miki. We're so excited to have you today. This is so much fun.
No, thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this opportunity and to just share my story.
I love it. I can't wait. But before we dive into all of that, can you share a little bit about that story and your trajectory and how you kind of got to where you are today doing all of this cool stuff?
So growing up, teaching was not my forte. My mom was a preschool teacher and I'm like, I don't want to do the same thing. I want to be different, right? And lo and behold, I'm a teacher. And growing up, I wanted to be a graphic designer. So I went to school at University of Hawaii, got my bachelor's degree, and my last semester before graduating, one of my really close friends committed suicide. And so when that happened, a lot of things kind of came into perspective, and I wanted to use my story and I wanted to use my experiences to help, other people and to make a difference. And so I decided to do a career change, and that is how I'm a teacher now, because I want to use, what I've learned and try to impact students to help them be successful in and out of the classroom.
what you're talking about really resonates with me. I've been in and out of the classrooms, as has Toi. Toi's also been a principal, but I think it's really important, particularly in middle school. First of all, it's one of my favorite groups, is to make yourself available. And I think it's awesome that you've used your own experience to make yourself available to the students. I'm sure it throws them off a little bit when you sit with them at lunch, but I love that. Tell us, so I'm interested, as a middle school math teacher, how you made the decision to add coding to that. Was there an aha moment, or what happened?
So in my undergraduate, I did a lot of web design, and coding was just, it fascinated me because it was like problem solving and figuring out a puzzle. And growing up, my mom would tell me that I would only ask for puzzles, and I would literally sleep with my puzzles stacked under my pillow. And so, I love just solving problems and just figuring out a solution. And with math, there's a lot of algorithm, and with coding and programming, there's also algorithm. So there's a connection there. And so allowing students to learn differently through different avenues, it was very helpful to help them see the connection between technology. And so one day I kind of just went past my principal and I was like, hey, I know computer science is, coming up, and, everybody's making a movement towards computer science and offering those types of classes to students. And I was like, hey, if you ever need a teacher that wants to teach coding, like I'm the one. Just let me know. I'm all for it, And she's like, well, guess what? We're gonna do it, and you got the job. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome. It's like a dream job for me. So I'm very lucky and blessed to have this opportunity to be the start of this whole movement towards technology and computer science, and helping students, gain the skills and the knowledge they need so that they are successful in the future.
That's awesome. My first job, I was a career changer too, and my first teaching job out of the gate was 8th grade math. Which you can imagine was was an interesting shift, both just changing the careers, but just figuring out how to deal with a lot of the things that 8th graders deal with. And, I hadn't been an 8th grader for a very long time. So that's really cool that you were able to pull those pieces in, because the math curriculum is one of those curriculums that's very structured because of all of the standards. So I'm curious, because you mentioned in your bio that you pulled some things in from Project Lead the Way and code.org. And I'm just curious what some of those things are. I'm a big Project Lead the Way super fans.
So in our district, a lot of the schools do Project Lead the Way because, of course it does you have the problem solving, you have the critical thinking, you have the hands-on learning. And my whole teaching philosophy is learn by doing. I don't want to stand in front of the classroom and lecture you for an hour. I want to talk to you, tell you your task for the first 15, 20 minutes, give you, your prior knowledge. And then the rest of the period, it's yours to explore and to figure out what you can from the learning, instead of me telling you what it is. Because, as kids, it's like you tell them, don't push the button. And they're going to do it because they want to learn. They want to see why, right? And so allowing them to use that hands-on learning through Project Lead the Way, it's an awesome way for them to collaborate and to learn on their own so that they can continue that learning and grow on their own, versus they're going to remember it at that moment and then forget later on. And then because my course was a year long and Project Lead the Way, the curriculum was for a semester, I had to kind of think about what am I going to do for the rest of the school year. And so I've done professional development courses with code.org, and I really love the platform. And so I applied to be one of the first cohorts of teachers that they provide training to. And so I was selected to go to Georgia, and there was a Hawaii cohort that I still remain friends with. And, they provided me with a lot of resources and helped me solidify my curriculum so that I can provide those two platforms for my students so that they could learn coding and programming online virtually, as well as how to use that coding in the physical world, where they can understand how a smartphone uses certain sensors and circuits. And so, they get a lot of hands-on using a computer, as well as building prototypes and understanding how that technology connects to the physical world.
Toi and I have been really fortunate to talk to several people in Hawaii, and the more we talk, and I feel you're so far from us, you guys really seem to be at the forefront of entrepreneurship education and things that we talk about and our EntreEd talks about, we talk about with our partners, is how do we bring this. And you guys have already brought it, and you're exceeding, and it's just so impressive. You also talked about taking kids on field trips, and I think what you do is, I'm impressed with not just a field trip, and let's get them out of the school for the day, but you do real life experience field trips. So can you talk a little bit more about that and how you help them connect those field trips to what they might see in their future?
So one of the things I learned was going to college for graphic design was totally different from when I was in the real world working at an advertising agency. And so when I teach coding, I want to take it out of the classroom, and I want them to experience and see what it's like outside of the classroom and what it would look like in the real world. And also to help them learn from other people, because they hear me every day. Hearing it from somebody else, in the community, or somebody that has more knowledge, or, can answer some of the questions that they have that I may not have, it's very beneficial, because not only does it provide those connections between what they're learning in class and, on the field trip, but they're also creating those relationships, and partnerships with other people within the community that can possibly help them, when they do want to pursue computer science in the future, and they have a starting point on, what am I interested in? Because computer science, there's so many different avenues of computer science. And so trying to help them figure out which one they might be most interested in is one of the purposes of field trips, is so that they can get that, learning outside of the classroom and kind of connect it to, maybe this is what I want to do when I get older, or, this is something that I want to learn more about. And so just taking it outside of the regular school environment, it's very valuable for them to see it in the community.
That's so cool. It makes it relevant, doesn't it, for them? Mm-hmm. Because you've taken it to that next level with the coding and relating it to math, and that opens up a whole bunch of things for kids, but then adding that actual relevant experience. And it is cool, because when I was in college, if you said computer science to me, I think of somebody sitting for 15 hours a day looking at code on a screen, and that doesn't sound exciting to me but I didn't have another perspective. And now that we've talked to some educators and actually seen some of the things that some of our students that we work with have done, it's totally different than that. And if you don't have that experience, you wouldn't know that at all. So that's really.
And I think I have to add, I'm with you, Toi, that I feel pretty ignorant even saying this out loud, that I didn't know what it was until some of my friends started telling me, I knew they're computer people, quote, until I started telling me what they do with it. And I have new neighbors that are both in computers in totally different ways. And one friend's in asset management. And I'm like, I had no idea. I had the very boring idea of it, and I apologize for that.
No, it's a lot of people think that computer scientists are like, have a certain feature, or they all sit behind a computer. But, now it's, now their work environment is totally different. And, there's a lot of girls that are getting into computer science, and, there's this whole stigma that it's mostly boys, and my classes are 90% boys. And so trying to gain interest from girls and letting them know that, hey, this is possible. It doesn't matter, on gender, and it doesn't matter, if you fit a certain mold, if you're passionate about it and you are interested in it, try it, you might like it. And so it's cool, because I received multiple teacher appreciation letters, and some of the girls are writing in there and they're saying, it's so cool that I learned from you that it's okay to be a girl, to code. And now I've gained a lot of friends that are girls that are going into the STEAM Academy for high school. And, being part of that, it's truly awesome to see the difference that I'm making.
That's so, again, goosebumps. That has to be such a cool experience for you and for them to, to have that aha, like I can do this. I can create something, and just putting that together. We found a lot of times when we talk with teachers and with students, it's that experience that, oh, I can learn this. I can do this, because computer science seems hard, right? So when you do something that's hard, and you do something and you actually accomplish it, that's such a powerful message. Even if they don't go into computer science, but they had that experience of, wow, I made this thing. So I really like the part about how you meet kids where they are. And that's something that we meet awesome educators. That's something that comes out again and again, how you have kids at all different levels, and it's sort of the epitome of differentiated instruction. But can you speak a little bit to that and how that works with the coding and computer science class?
So it's pretty cool because there are students that know way more than me. There are students that have no background knowledge. And so what's cool is I'm able to build positive relationships with all my students, and then I can understand where they're coming from, what experiences they have, what knowledge they're coming with. And that's where pair programming and collaboration are super important, because when they pair program, one person is able to teach the other and vice versa. And so they learn together and they problem solve together. And they also teach me new things. And, I come into the classroom telling them, I don't know everything. And when they show me a program, I'm like, let me see, tell me about it. How did you do it? And the awesome thing about coding and programming is that there's so many ways to do the same thing. And so students that are super shy, a lot of them pick it up really well because they pay attention to detail. And so then they become the leaders in the classroom. And so, it's cool to see how students with a lot of experience, how they thrive in teaching others. And in that same sense, it's differentiated because a lot of peers, they learn better with peers instead of me telling them the same thing. So it's pretty cool to see how each level of student is beneficial within a group setting, because each of them bring their own ideas and their own experiences.
And I think too, you talk a lot about young women, young girls, and being influenced by it. I'm all about girl power. But I think I love middle school for everything you're saying, Miki, because you're allowing them to come as they are, you're allowing yourself to say, I don't know everything. And I think that's what middle schoolers love. They love the real person. They want to see that real teacher that's going to meet them, like Toi said, where they're at. But more importantly, it sounds like you've been willing to be vulnerable. You've been willing to say, I don't get it. I don't know it. Show me. And I think that's where middle schoolers just grab onto that and run with it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the SAIL team and how social emotional learning has been a big deal and an influencer in what you and others teach at the school.
So I feel that relationships are the foundation to learning. Basically, if you are taking that time to empathize and to build that relationship with a student, they will want to learn from you. They will want to be involved. They will want to learn what you're talking about. And when I did the Shadowing a Student Day, it was very eye-opening. I learned so much, and I was able to empathize and understand the stress that they have, because I haven't been in middle school for a while. And, just going back and remembering the stress and remembering how it feels like to be bullied or to feel, like, do people like me, and who am I? Where am I going? And it was interesting because students, when I did the shadowing of students, they were very involved, and, I dressed as a student and they were like my friends for the day. And I did get bullied from some of them because they're like, they're teasing my name because it's Mickey. And so they're like, Mickey Mouse and whatever. And so it did a different perspective because they saw me as a student that day. And so you get a little bit of understanding on what goes on through the day and the stress levels that students have, and why it's important for teachers to ask them, how are they feeling? I see you're different today. Like, tell me about it, and I think just having that open arms and showing them that you care helps them to want to learn and to just be a part of your classroom and to feel that family, that family vibe. And I really feel like it's important to pay attention to the whole child and not just the academic side, because there's also the social, there's the physical. I'm middle school, a lot of things are developing and they don't know what to do with it. There's a lot of boyfriend-girlfriend drama, and, just being that ear for them to vent is all they need.
I have to ask this question as a follow-up to that one. During this weird pandemic that we're dealing with, have you been able to connect with your kids? And because I know I have my own kids at home right now, and they're dealing with their own social emotional issues, and they're in elementary school. But I'm just curious how you've been dealing with that, because we like to ask the teachers that are going through it right now that question, but it's even more of an issue with the social emotional component.
Oh, definitely. I have, one-on-one sessions with them just to talk story. I do sessions every week virtually. And every week I have a Google form where they tell me how they feel and what they miss, and, just anything about what they're doing at home. How are they keeping busy? So I'm trying to continue those conversations. And, it's funny because a lot of them in the beginning, they're like, yay, we get to stay at home. And then, they started on the virtual sessions, they started talking about how, they miss school, and they're like, this virtual class is the best thing that happened to me this whole week. So just having that physical connection with them, or just having that socialization, is super important, especially, for mental health. And just being there for them is, has been awesome for me as well, because I miss them so much, and I don't know what to do with myself sometimes, because like you guys said, I like to talk, and everybody likes to talk, talk story and share your experiences. And so it's good that we have technology to do that still.
I know. Can you imagine without the technology? We'd all be insane. I'm halfway there already, and I have the technology.
Yeah. I think in middle school, you hit it. We all like to talk, but not only that, middle schoolers are trying to find their voice, I think, as much as anything. And they want to figure out who they are even almost before high school. I think obviously it doesn't even develop until that or later, but they really are trying to find their voice, and so to have a teacher or teachers that allow them that space. What advice, Miki, would you give to other educators to help them do the things that you're doing, the social, emotional learning, the bringing new things in the classroom? What would you tell others?
I would just tell them that any idea is a good idea. And if you have that idea, act upon it. When I started teaching coding, I didn't know what to do. And so I started reaching out into the community. I started talking to administrators and, to other teachers, and just using that idea I had and letting it manifest. And, the community has so much to offer. And I finally realized that there are so many resources out there and so many people that can help me, provide opportunities for students in the classroom.
I think that's so important. And again, we were talking, Laura and I were talking about this earlier, that's something that comes up over and over again that has, I think, been overlooked a lot, just in general in our nation's K through 12, is that bringing the community aspect into it. And the awesome educators we've spoken to that are able to do that have consistently found amazing help, and people that really, really care and really want to help. And I'm assuming that our friend Josh Rapoon is one of your community members.
Yes,
I would love to see him and kids interact with each other. I'm gonna have to have him and kids on our podcast at some point in time, because I just think he'd be super fun. But that's a great piece of advice, to just get other people involved, and it broadens their perspectives and your own perspective, and I think that's amazing. I wanted to ask one more thing about your am I getting that right? Yeah, vertical alignment. So you talked a little bit in your bio about reaching down and up to the elementary and the high school. Can you share a little bit about what you're doing with that?
So our administrator is very good at articulation. So we have professional development where we get to talk and work and collaborate with other STEM teachers or other teachers within, our district. And last year we had this huge conference where we got to break out into sessions, and I got to talk with STEM teachers in the other middle school close to us, and high school teachers as well. And so I had some of the high school teachers come to my class and talk to my students, and so we try to open up and make sure that what I'm teaching is going to benefit them in high school, and it's going to create a clear alignment so that what students are gaining from elementary and then to middle school and then to high school will be they'll be set up for college. So we try to collaborate as much as we can on professional development with other teachers within our district.
I love that. That's so great. As I know a very rural school that we work with, and they started in middle school with the coding, and they did the same thing. Then they reached out, and now this is the entire school district is 3 schools. So the entire thing. So it was a little bit easier to get people together and stuff. But I think that's so important. And for us, we love the idea of introducing things like STEM things, coding, entrepreneurship as early as possible, when kids haven't boxed themselves in yet, or they haven't been told no enough yet, so they still think that anything is possible. So I think that's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Miki, Toi and I have had, it's just been a great blessing and joy every time we talk to someone, because you never know what people are doing until you ask the questions, and it helps me feel connected to someone like you to see how exciting you're making education. I tell you, this program, we've wanted to laugh with people and cry with people and jump out of the screen and hug people for all the amazing things that are happening out there. And I definitely say you're one of them. It's phenomenal what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe one of your kids will figure out how to do that, how we can just virtually come.
Yeah.
I know, especially now.
Ask them.
Yeah. A hologram or something.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, with artificial intelligence and advancements in technology, I mean, who knows? I mean, there's drones delivering things, and it's crazy.
I think I love the idea of what you're doing with kids, because you don't know, one of your students could be someone who disrupts the next industry, or comes up with this cool idea. If you want to tell them so that they can help me out, I'm waiting for the robo spine or whole skeleton. I would like to just have all of the things that hurt just replaced with AI technology. And then that way I could just do whatever I want. So that's so cool. We're so appreciative to hear from you and everything that you're doing. And we hope that teachers are inspired, and that they can start trying to do things and reach out and really just expand what you can do in a classroom. It's so great. So Miki, before we go, can you share with us how someone might get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you, what you're doing, your school?
They could email me or find me on social media. My email is just miki.cacace@k12.hi.us. So anybody can reach out. I'm super open to collaborating and just, helping get the message out there and helping change education into being more hands-on versus lecture and sitting there listening to the teacher talk for a while. So
yeah, I don't know, at what point in history that started, but we really need to rethink that.
yeah.
Because I don't learn that way. And, and I know my kids don't learn that way. So it's by sitting and getting.
It's really bad when I have kids too. And when they come home, they complain about school and you want to say, yeah, you're right. You're trying as a parent to say, well, give the teacher a chance. But then, when we talk to folks like you, what the classroom could be. Mm-hmm. And that's what's, frustrating in our traditional system.
It's very frustrating.
I bang my head against the table daily about that one.
But yeah, that's why it's awesome, because my class, it's never quiet. And, when people walk in, they're just like, what is happening in here? And I'm like, they're working, so it's awesome.
I love that. We have it does take a different perspective from an educator to be comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. And I know it was so funny. I did this crazy event STEM kind of thing with a bunch of fifth graders, and they were awesome. It was like one of the best. It was the assembly line thing, Laura, but it was like the best. Oh, yeah. The best thing that, all the things went right. They were, arguing with each other and debating and doing all these things. But at the end of the day, the teacher apologized to me, and I went, for what? And he said, well, they were really loud. And I said, yes, they were really loud. They're supposed to be. They were so passionate about just the silly activity that I was able to do with them. And so it's just, I love that, but it does take a teacher it's a little hard to get comfortable with that. It took me a while to get comfortable with that. So awesome. Well, we are just super appreciative to have met you and that you are here. And we hope that we can maybe have you back another time and learn more about your adventures and your kids' adventures. And actually I do, before we go, I want to ask one more thing. Is there a favorite project that you've done or a favorite epic fail that's happened?
Wow.
Sometimes those are the same things.
I'll go with my favorite project was where they got to build their own, it's their project either way, but they built their own dog dispenser, so a dog treat dispenser. So they used the microbit and they created their own prototype, and they had, they coded it where if you push the button or if the dog put their paw on something, the treat would come out. And so that was my favorite project, because even though it had the same outcome, their prototypes were all different. And then they created commercials to sell their product, and like their commercials were amazing. And so that was by far one of my best projects.
Oh my gosh, I bet that was the cutest thing ever. Did they have dogs in the commercials?
Mm-hmm. Those sad drooping eyes, right?
That's awesome. That's so cool. Oh man, well, Miki, thank you so much for joining us today from beautiful Hawaii, and we're looking forward to figuring out a way to to have us go on a field trip to Hawaii.
That would be awesome. I appreciate this opportunity, and just meeting you guys. And I love how your focus is education and how to make a difference and to share the awesome stories that educators around the world, because we're so far away, and, just letting us talk about how we want to shape education and the things that we're doing to help kids be prepared for the future. I'm just in awe of all the work that you guys are doing, and I appreciate being part of it.
Well, thanks. Well, likewise. It's so great. Well, so grateful you were here, and thank you again, and look forward, audience, to Miki Part 2.
Yay.
Awesome.
Great, Miki. Thank you.
Thank you.